Easiest way to die. If you want to die, let me tell you one way to die. Wake up in the morning and begin to rebuke spiritual wickedness in the heavenly realms. Continue in that activity. Give us money before you do it. Let's arrange coffin and those other matters. You have transgressed your jurisdiction, and it cannot end well with you. Now, the issue of Daniel reveals to us how spiritual warfare is executed. Are you there? So, we have principalities, we have powers, we have the rulers of the darkness of this world, this our own world. Are you there? These three entities are within the scope where the authority of man is efficacious, but spiritual wickedness is in another domain. Are you there now? So if God sends you to accomplish something and spiritual wickedness is involved, as you are interceding, heaven assigns angelic personalities to deal at that level. Is that clear? So there is supposed to be a partnership between the prophet and the angelic personality that is assigned to deal in the realms of spiritual wickedness. That is not your realm. Good. So many good men have died because they did not. I hope you know Jesus is our example on every matter, because he's the pattern man. If you show me anywhere in the Bible where Jesus, when he was as a man, dealt with spiritual wickedness in heavenly places, I will come and correct this message. And the reason why I am doing this teaching is both for the purpose of enlightenment and for us to understand the working circuitry that upon which spiritual warfare is anchored on. Now, so there was an incompatibility. How many of you used to watch wrestling those days? Do they still do wrestling? Because, sorry, I'm not too current on many matters anymore, you know. Those days in wrestling, there was something called tag team partners. Two people will be on the red corner or the blue corner. And then when one goes to fight and is exhausted, all he needs to do is to shake the other guy. Then the other guy is activated to come take his place. So there is that tag team relationship that exists between the prophet and the angelic personality that is assigned to take over the battle within the context of the realm of spiritual wickedness, which is beyond the scope of our own authority as men. Is that right? All right. So in this tag team relationship, Gabriel discovered that his tag team partner that was upon the face of the earth did not have adequate utterance. He had a deficiency in utterance that was limiting his dexterity in battle. And that deficiency was occasioned by his ignorance of the context of the warfare. Are you there? Do you realize that a lot of your victory will elude you if you are not adequately informed about the context of warfare? And that's why we cannot overemphasize the need for revelation knowledge when we are tackling spiritual things. So the assistance that Gabriel was getting from Daniel was minimal, and it was Gabriel's ministry of intercession that was creating the legitimacy for the angelic intervention. Do you understand that? You know, I told you that prayer is earthly permission for heavenly interference. Heaven wants to interfere, but heaven will not be able to interfere legitimately until the prophet, until the intercessor begins to supply the resources of prayer. Then the activities become legitimized and they can enter into the space and begin to influence things from their own realm. Do you get that? So the resources of prayer that Daniel was making available to support the activity that was taking place overhead was minimal. And the reason was because Daniel was ignorant of the warfare. So the angel showed up and said, you know, previously he used to show up in dreams and in visions, but he could no longer use that approach. He had to show up in bodily appearance. And the reason for that was because of the emergency. He wanted to upgrade Daniel to give him what he called what? Skills and what? Understand. Now you are following me. Now, the first question I need to ask Chief Donatus, how much understanding do you have about the spiritual shape of your family? That is going to determine how much influence you can bring upon them spiritually. You think that life began for you just with you. You don't know that there's a long history of priesthood that has taken place, that has secured portals for darkness along generations, along the lines, along ages. And because of the principle of inheritance, you cannot be adequately dissociated from that context. The best you can do is to bring about a priesthood that will undo the efficacy of the things that Satan is doing and establish a highway for that which God will do. We cannot overemphasize the fact that in spiritual warfare, it is altar against altar. It is siege against siege. Because the altars that went ahead, the thing about altars is that if we establish an altar in 1984 and then we abandon it, the spirits that attended to that altar are still there. That's the problem about that. There's a sister here that could not conceive after marriage. Are you with me? And I was involved in connecting that sister to her husband. So she now came to me and said, this good thing you connected, there's a problem. I thought I had finished my job by connecting. They still came back and said, there's a challenge. We had to travel to that sister's village because I had to call the dad. I said, in my place of prayer. You know, we modern preachers are not likely to want to get involved in this kind of talk that I'm talking. It is easier for us to preach faith and speak the word. You must understand that my training is in the area of faith. That's my training. I was trained to be a faith preacher. But you know what? I study my Bible personally and I believe my Bible. And I've seen a lot of patterns in the Bible that has shown that speaking the word alone will not help people. So the spirit of revelation gave me insight and I called the dad and said, from what I'm seeing here, I need to visit where you grew up in order to release your daughter from the bondage that has not allowed her to conceive. So we had to take my car and we journeyed to the village. When we got to the village, I told the man, I said, Oga, this is not where you grew up. Take me to where you grew up. He said, are you ready to trek? I said, oh my God, that's why we came here. So we began to trek. We had to cross a stream. I don't know, Chief Donatus. Okay, were you the one that followed me? So we crossed the stream and entered the place. And because of the altar that was raised in that compound, in that entire place, nobody could stay there. This is years. That was where they grew. So we had to now, the father had to, okay, where was the altar? And I said, okay, this palm tree was here. Their house used to be here. We are in the forest too. Where we are now is in the forest. This stuff used to be here. Then if this stuff is here and that stuff is there, then the altar is here. There was no physical evidence that there was anything that was there. And I anointed that place and made a decree. I said, our work has finished. She took in 1 month after that exercise. The angel said, I have come to give you skills and understanding. So what happened is that I was equipped with understanding. And because of the understanding that came to me, it was therefore easy for me to know the equipment in the arsenal of the new creation that I could use to detonate the premise that Satan has secured in that family that was responsible for the bondage. All right, let me continue my story. So the lecture, are you there? The lecture that the angel came to bring to Daniel, the lecture started in chapter 9 verse 22. But the aspect of the lecture that I want to bring to your notice is because this lecture continues from chapter 9 verse 22 into chapter 10 into chapter 11. Are you there? All right, so the part of the lecture that is of interest which I want to bring to the table because of the emphasis that I want to draw tonight is in chapter 11 verse 1. And I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood. Is the angel talking? Oh, you're not following. The person talking is still the angel bringing understanding to Daniel. Do you understand the context? So he said, I, in the first year of Darius. Who is Darius? You get it? It's one of the Persian kings, the king of Persia. It was Darius. Darius was one of the kings that God used to support the cause of the nation of Israel. Are you there? Now, so in the politics of outcomes and events and political trends, angels and demons play a very tactical aspect of the politics of outcomes. This Darius was not born again. He didn't know Jehovah. But somehow God has found a way to influence this hidden king to accept to protect Israel. To accept to allow Israel begin to return this king. And because Satan knew that if this king was going to carry out that activities, was going to help the people of God, this kind of a king would be a target in the eyes of Satan. So in order for Satan not to be able to destroy this king, an angelic personality called Gabriel was the one that was sent to confirm him, to protect him, so that Satan will not have the capacity to sway him off